people who don't know, no calzone means we're not canceling each other. We're going to give our opinion, have our opinion. We'll see if we could convince other people. But if you can't, agree to disagree, and we move on.
No cancel zone.
So exactly. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first since I just read the story and I was thinking about it because I'm currently trying to decide what to do about my kids and going to school virtual or full, online. I mean, virtual or in person full time. And, I can't control what other people do as far as other parents getting infected, bringing it into the classroom, then the kids bringing it to my house, stuff like that. So I started my first reaction towards like the vaccine passport was like, nah, because I'm sure there's a million ways this could go wrong. And the ACLU said so, and they didn't say it's automatically like a no-go, but they mentioned like, yeah, they could be, it could go wrong in a lot of ways and create some kind of two-tier system, some kind of class system. But then I was thinking, we already got vaccination cards for kids before even going into school. So as long as it is limited, maybe I'm okay with it. I just don't want to have a passport in order to just like go to the grocery store or something.
Yeah. Bendo, what you think?
I was going to say, I think it was CMT on the chat was saying we already have the real IDs, right, in order coming up these upcoming years in order for you to travel. Adding an extra star or,
Is that Bendone? Is that a official real ID? It's not implemented yet, but it's coming, or is it?
They delayed it because of COVID. But it's supposed to happen by last October. But if you want to travel with your driver's license, you need to have that star and your real ID.
And is it a federal thing or is it a state?
It's depending on which states are approved, but it's a federal mandate.
Yeah, I remember that real ID thing from when I was a Ron Paul supporter back in like 2007, 2008, and there was such fear mongering around it that like it's like it'll be like your papers, please. If you wanted to travel within the states, you got to have this real ID, and the cops could just ask you like, where's your real ID? So that's interesting.
Here's my thing. I think that. Like I was thinking about it, and like when Carlito brought that article, and I think that states like Alabama, Mississippi, all those red states that are like, oh, screw this, I'm not doing it. I think if they want to go outside their states and visit, they need to have some type of thing that says, I took it. Because if they don't care, and you have a Virginia or Connecticut, New York, California, something doing everything they can to protect your citizen, and you have all these other states that just don't give a crap about it, then if they want to leave their states, they need to provide some type of documentation that they are vaccinated.
So how does that look like, John? They're going to have checkpoints coming into the state?
You're going to have to figure out a way, like, by plane or, if they get pulled over and they want to take that chance, they could ask them. But it's just, again, like we get it. Like people always talk about like, oh, it's my right and, use religions against it or whatever. And a lot of people still think it's a hoax. A lot of people think it's fake. They don't believe on it. But for those states that are trying their best to stop it and bring it down, like all it takes is just a few people to come over and visit and spread it.
Izzy, what you think?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of have to agree. I feel like if we tried to do it, it would cause massive havoc and chaos across this country just because of all the red crazies that we have out there. But I agree with John. I mean, if you are running a state and you're trying to keep your people safe, you have to have something like this. But I mean, these people, they don't even want to wear masks. You think we're going to get them to get, vaccine cards before they can board a plane or something? And imagine all the chaos that's going to cause by these right-wing idiots who just don't even believe the virus exists. They're going to talk about First Amendment rights and blah, 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 all this nonsense. And I'm not saying it's going to incite a civil war, but it's going to be messy. I don't see any way you get this passed without massive chaos across the country.
Yes. For that game, support policies, not politicians. He said the administration, they already said they wouldn't mandate a vaccine passport. I'm fine with it. But at the same time, we used to have vaccines or some kind of immunization proof to travel for international travel to some countries before. We have, like I mentioned, for school. There was I don't know if you got that meme case, but military, we got to take like 47 vaccines for boot camp to get into boot camp.
Yeah.
There's still like a 40% refusal rate in the Marines and not taking it, even though they like are required to take all those to even get in there. So it's kind of crazy, man. I mean, but it's already been done, been around. There's different ways that it could be done. One of the things they, if you wanted to do it on a wider scale, they said that it must be open source. You must have paper, not just be like a app on your phone, because then, what about people don't have phones or older people that, they're not, tech savvy or whatever. So they can't discriminate that way. So it must have like a paper. So, and there's already an infrastructure kind of for that with the vaccinations, the immunizations right now. And that's in a paper card. So it could be done, but there's too much ignorance out there, even with the mask, to even consider a passport idea.
Well, I just think like then it's going to live up to the states, because there's other countries that are saying in order for you to come to our country, you need to be vaccinated, and they're going to require it, right? So if I was a governor of a state, I would say if you are coming from this state and you're going to come by plane or you're going to come by car and you do get pulled over and you don't have that card and you don't have that passport, then have the state, because Biden administration said they would not mandate it. But again, like you a governor trying to, you put all these restrictions and regulations, and you have those other states that just don't care. So the first thing, people from Texas, if you get your vaccine, you can visit my state. If not, sorry.
So here's my problem, John. So I'm not really enthusiastic about a vaccine passport because, like, that's why I asked, how do we implement it? And we know that the people who get abused from these kind of situations are minorities, so who do cops pull over most of the time? There was that study that showed at nighttime, white and minorities and black people get pulled over at the same rate, but then during the day, black people get pulled over more. So now cops are going to be pulling over black people and asking them for their vaccine passport, and it's going to be minorities who are the most skeptical, or I don't want to say the most skeptical, but there are a lot of people who, have the Tuskegee experiment in mind, and they're not going to be they're not going to be vaccinated. And now we're putting them people in, like, that's the next thing. What do we do with them if they're not vaccinated? Are they going to get kicked out of the state? Or are they going to go to jail?
No, but I'm talking about when you're visiting, when you cross state, when you're doing cross state lines. So
yeah.
And like if I'm going from Virginia to Connecticut, and Connecticut requires to have the vaccine to come to their state from somebody in Virginia, and I want to take that chance, like, that's on me, right? Because
but John, what happens to you then? If you don't have your vaccine passport and you go to that state and they found that you don't have it, what happens to you? You go to jail?
That would be the next. I don't know if you get a fine or how they want to do it, but it's got to be, like if Connecticut is trying to protect their citizens and Virginia is not.
I hear that point. No, I hear that point.
So you know what I mean? So at the end of the day, we also got to take some responsibility too, right? Like, you can't say like we know that, cops target, minority. So if I'm a minority and I'm going across state lines, especially knowing that state, I'm not going to take that chance because I know my chances are higher to get pulled over.
Yeah. So my last point,
but I mean,
and Carlito, my last point, then we're going to move on. I'll let you say your point, then we'll move on. Is so with the airport, I'm really worried also about all the different policies that are still here with this. So from 9/11, the shoe bomber, people still taking off their shoes at the airport, still have super duper crazy TSA scrutiny, as CMT talked about, because of 9/11. Now, of course, 9/11 was a big deal. I think we need to find better, more efficient ways. That's all. Go ahead, Carlito.
Yeah, so I don't think it has to be that extreme. That's why I can mention the vaccination cards. If something like going to school, I believe Cornell, Brown, there's a few colleges that are requiring it a vaccination to go back on campus right now. So, some people could say that, well, if it's a private company that requires it, then, that's their thing. But you don't have to make it so it could be like to cross state lines. I don't think it should be necessary for that. But one thing that in a poll survey that I saw was the one thing that will make people want to do it, like the people that are skeptical now, the Republicans, a lot of them, is travel. Like if they needed to go travel to get on an airplane, that'll make them do it. Other than that, there's not much that they want to do it. But the reasons for not getting it just they make no damn sense though.
But I'm telling you, all these people, they're not leaving the United States because a lot of the countries, they don't want Americans. If you don't have your vaccination, they don't want you there. So
yeah. So another thing that I saw while I was looking into this was it's something kind of happened already for the yellow fever in New Orleans. People that if you got it already, you were immune after that. So it made like a 2-tier system of people that already had it and they're now immune versus people didn't have it, to the point that some people actually, even though it's a 50-50 chance that you're going to die, they were going out to get it. They were trying to inject other people's blood into themselves. Oh, wow. And believe it or not, they try to use racism into this by justifying slavery somehow by saying that the African blood was already immune, so you could have more slaves or something. So they're using slavery by saying that the African blood is more superior. Like I was like, man, they'll use anything, man.
That's crazy, yeah. So all right, let's move on to the next trivia question, and I just want to give a shout. This is going to be an interesting discussion here, I think. Okay, are Biden and the Democrats finally executing good messaging for the infrastructure bill, and also saying the bill has bipartisan support from Republican voters? So I've you guys, I'm Case Study QB, so I'm always watching mainstream media, and I'm very surprised by the fact that, Bernie's out there talking about human infrastructure, not only infrastructure about, building bridges and the traditional infrastructure, but we have Bernie out there talking about human infrastructure. And guess who else? Nancy Pelosi is talking about human infrastructure. And what do I mean by human infrastructure? That means they want to put money into housing. They want to put money into childcare. They want to put money into healthcare. So the fact that all the Democrats are on board with this seems really Republican. Like they would come up with some kind of scheme to try to sell it to the American people. But this is the Democrats doing this. What you guys think?
You've actually actively seen them on MSNBC and all that.
Yeah,
talking about it.
I should have tried to. I'll see if I could find a clip from Nancy. Was the latest clip that I saw that she was talking about this human infrastructure. But yeah, they're talking about it.
The fact that Nancy's talking about it gets me concerned because they're just going to come in. Republicans going to find out a way to block it, even if they don't have the power to block it.
Yeah. I don't know how serious she is, but
Yeah, that's why I'm saying, if Nancy's talking about it, I'm concerned.
I'm not concerned because I know, first of all, to begin with, it's not as big as it should be. But them saying, giving some money to all the things they mentioned, I think they will. And I think they will support that because it's not enough. They're willing to give us the crumbs. There's always been the Democratic way. They'll give us something while the Republicans give us nothing. That way they look like the lesser evil and we go for them. So yeah, they're going to give us something. I don't doubt it. It's just not going to be enough. Like when they talk about healthcare, they'll talk about, making the ACA stronger instead of giving us Medicare for all, things like that.
Yeah. So let me play this video real quick. This is not Nancy, but this is Debbie Dingell talking about it.
All hang together and move. Briefly, let's talk about the infrastructure package that we're going to turn focus to this week. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's margin in the House is incredibly narrow. Are you confident that Democrats can all hang together and move forward on this package before the August recess deadline that you've set?
Look, I think if you're out there and you're talking to the American people, there's a real demand and approval for a lot of what's in this package. And it's Republicans and Democrats fixing, if you're from Michigan, the damn roads, the bridges, broadband, the COVID has shined a light on our students, both in urban areas and rural areas, not able to study because they don't have broadband access. Michigan's a state that understands it, but it's a problem across the country that water still has lead in it because of the need to replace pipelines. And quite frankly, I think we're going to have some good, thoughtful discussions. We got to, by the way, also get the electric vehicle infrastructure into place, a lot of things like that. But I'm going to be one of the key players. I care very deeply about this. We have to have discussions about what is infrastructure. It's a foundation. It's the framework by which a community and society operate. Caregiving has become a major problem. Look at the women that have had to leave the workforce. I am going to be one of the leaders on the long-term care. It is broken. We're one of the only industrialized nations that has not addressed it, and it's a competitive issue for us as well.
So you guys see right there, they're really trying to frame other issues that's not traditional infrastructure and put it into this bill. We'll see what the final product is, because of course Biden quote unquote said he wanted $15 minimum wage, but they didn't put it in the COVID bill. So who knows what the true intention is, but what you guys think?
Yeah, that's one of the things the Republicans were already complaining about. Like all these things, that's not infrastructure. For them, if it's not like a bridge or a road, it doesn't count. But you know, things like they should support that are obviously infrastructure are like the charging stations, you know, to build that electric grid to help that, and then we can have more electric vehicles, stuff like that. Is definitely infrastructure, but even that they're against because it's not a road or a bridge. But I also want to say real quick, support politician and policy said love the dingle, and I just died inside. I was just dying laughing, and partly it's because I don't know. Before I seen the face, like sometimes I read the names. And her husband, Dingle, because she took over her husband's seat.
Yeah,
he was, you know, he was in there for like millennia. It seemed like forever. I thought it was a black guy.
Oh, you serious?
Yeah.
Nah, he was white. Definitely, he was a white guy. But I gotta give credit to Dingle. She's also one of the co-chairs, I believe, the co-chair of the Medicare for All caucus. But she's a big supporter of Medicare for All, just like her husband was when he was in Congress. And yeah, so that's another question I want to bring up. If we'll see what the final result of this infrastructure bill is, but if it does include this quote unquote human infrastructure things, can we finally say that we move Biden a little bit to the left on not foreign policy, but at least on domestic on this issue? What you guys think?
Is that after or before he gave all the military that money?
Nah, 100%. I agree with you. But I'm saying in this one little area.
I mean, okay, we'll give him like a little tennis clap, I guess. I don't know. Like, how much does the guy really deserve, you know?
We'll find out what happens, but you know, we'll see. I saw an article also where it was talking about how Bernie is his healthcare plan is trying to bring down Medicare for All eligibility down to 60 or 55, while Nancy Pelosi is just trying like bolster up the ACA. You know, and that's really all you're doing is throw away money to health insurance industry. So we'll see what happens there as well.
Carlito, real quick, you were talking about support policies and not politicians. Zinger. I think the funniest thing so far in this chat, Gabe was talking about how he's living the van life right now, and our boy Big Knee was like, "Oh, when you start in OnlyVans." I thought that was I was literally dying. I was like, wait, make sure I'm on mute, and then I started busting out laughing.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And then Gay spelled it wrong.
So the second part of this No Calzone, and we'll just have fun with the chat and we'll end the show. So I put also saying the bill has bipartisan support from Republican voters. So I've been watching this a lot, right? And for example, you have Chris Christie on ABC News who's saying, and a lot of Republicans who are in, you know, the establishment, who are in Congress, they're saying, oh, Biden said he was going to unite the country and he's not working with us. He's not working with the Republicans to try to get us on board. And they're all trying to do this reconciliation, which is only 51 votes, which is only the Democrats. They're not. So the response to that from the Democrats is, oh, we are bipartisan because we have the voters who all our policies are very popular with both Republicans and Democrats. So what you guys think about that side of the messaging as well?
it could be better. Like whenever they're on stage or on a show, they should come out with it. You know, somebody says that, well, this poll, 75% say this, 95% say that.
Yeah.
Even 70% of Republicans agree with us. So I don't know who you're supporting, but it's obviously not the people. So get lost.
Yeah. I mean, personally, if it was me, and then I'll go to you, John. If it was me out from the insurrectionists from January 6th, if I was the leader, if I was Biden, and I would have talked to Nancy Pelosi, who's the other leader of, I'll talk to Chuck Schumer, say, hey, from now on, we're going to refer to the Republicans as the insurrectionist party. We do not deal with insurrectionists until, what's his name, Mitch McConnell, punishes the people who voted against me. That's when we might work with them. But until then, we're not going to work with them, period. That would have been me.
I agree. And, we're talking about, like bringing up polling as a way to promote your message. I would love to see these MSM interviewers would be like, okay, so what about the polling of Medicare for All, which is also 60 to 70%? Do you support that? Because, I mean, you have, honestly, I mean, you have support across the board there. Why is that not being pushed too? So, I mean, if I'm what's the guy's name that you've been showing the clips of lately that's been interviewing Bernie Hart from the left?
Oh, Mehdi Hassan.
Yeah. If I'm him, those are the kind of questions I'm asking.
Yeah. He asked even Fauci he's been asking some tough questions. I gotta give him credit.
He would ask that. I don't know about the other people, but he would.
Definitely not Chris Hayes.
Asking if we can help make it viral.
Yeah. Not Chris Hayes.
If I'm the Democrats, we talked about this in the previous show.
Yeah.
I would just say, like, look, it's them, the Republicans go out there and they crying wolf and they're saying we're not working with them. But here's the reason why we're not working with them. That $1,400 check that you received, they all voted against it. And then just keep moving. And we're not going to vote. We're not going to work with people that are not going to give people, even if it's like whatever, but at least that's what people are going to remember. And that's the messages they have to drive home.
100%. All right, let's give some love to the chat. And then I want to show you guys one last thing. I just did an interview with Ben Fieldman and Filderman. I called him the grassroots version of our revolution because he created this spreadsheet of all these, like a very comprehensive spreadsheet of all these different districts. And he has like potential progressives who are running here, the challengers. He has different tabs. He shows the people who are challenging those people in those districts, and then he shows the people who are vulnerable. It's a very comprehensive spreadsheet, and I'm going to throw it in the chat, and I would love for everyone in the audience to check this out. It had Henry Collier. It had Kurt Schrader, the guy that I just showed. He's on here. He's on here. So the guy, it was a very interesting interview, and I'm hoping that he's going to help me out a little bit with my People's Gauntlet idea, and going to do some things. So, all right, let's give the chat room some love. Alan Amberster, our man, Neat, thank you for coming out in the chat. Holly Horn, CMT63. Anybody else? Go ahead, my political junkies, if you want to shout out anybody.
Gabe, what up, Gabe?
Gabe is in the chat
with his low internet chiming in. Thank you, Gabe, for supporting in the chat.
We miss you.
Gabe, when the infrastructure bill goes through, you can get broadband.
We miss you, Gabe.
He's going to get the Elon Musk satellite thing and put it on top of the van.
That's not a bad idea either.
Yo, that's actually a pretty smart idea.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So Nancy Venture, of course. Robert Wilson, he had to go because he had a new shift at his job, but he's going to check us out later. Kit Cabello, always a supporter, friend of the show.
Yeah.
Love his show. Check him out on his channel, Heartlands Media.
Support policies, not politicians.
Yeah, much love to you. I know I always see that person on Twitter.
Boy, Rafael Rodriguez was chiming in today. I don't know if we said Holly Horn already. Nancy Venture, if we said already.
Rafael Rodriguez.
A lot of good chatting today.
Lots of good chatting. All right, so thank you so much, everybody. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us. We appreciate that. And of course, you are a part of the Political Junkies as well. And much love to you. Any last words for my guys? Carlito, Benon, Izzy, John? Last words.
One last thing, one thing that CMT was talking about, how, young people talking about our issues in the future. One thing that all progressives have that I think is missing a lot is empathy. That we don't just think about ourselves, we think about others. And that's one thing that I think is missing a lot in the country, and it's missing a lot as it's shown in the vaccine thing, because people could get the vaccine to protect others that are vulnerable, that can't even get the vaccine themselves. So, you know, I think we need more empathy, and a lot of these problems that we have, and it wouldn't be a problem.
100%. 100%.
Yeah, one last thing. Easy, help me out here. What was the name of that show? I think everybody should watch. I think we're going to talk about it in the future.
Oh yes, yes. 14th, I think, or something amendment. Damn, on Netflix, the one that stars Will Smith. Yeah, good reminder. Everyone should definitely check that out. It's a multi-series show that talks about the 14th Amendment, and it really goes into good detail about the history of it all, how it's affecting us today, the key players, you know, specifically Black people in this country that help make, you know, these rights what they are today, even though we can't freaking get people to follow them. And it's just really well done. Lots of actors involved. The whole show is just really well done. So I highly recommend everyone check it out.
Amend.
Amend. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. I thought it was going to be a little corny at first, but I've already watched the first 2 episodes and I'm really enjoying it. So, and we may chat about it in the future on the show. So make sure you all check it out.